This series is part of applying the growth mindset. So the GLAD customer-based governance model, the GM squared, is what offers us the way to think, how our mindsets work, and what are the values that each one of us have that are unique, and how the principles of how we govern ourselves are fairly same. This series, though, however, is more focused on how we apply the those mindsets and how we govern ourselves and how we increase our own agency and our own self-governance. So today, what I'm going to be talking about is our friend, right? The topic of the decade, let's say, artificial intelligence, which, let's be honest, is a sales term. So we'll refer to them as the LLMs, or the large language models, which is a narrow AI, very, very specialized or has an expertise in languages. It's able to capture all the information on the internet in every single language, and mostly large languages, and it's able to communicate with us on different topics, which seems very powerful, and it is. So let's get into the actual applications, and I'm going to be using Gemini as my single tool, or as much as I try to limit myself to a single tool, because otherwise it's overwhelming with so many, and how we apply, or how we would do research and development. So I'm going to start with a fresh chat here, and just show the different ways that I would use it, and not maybe go through too much detail. So starting with deep research, right? That's always what I find is a good place to start. So we go with deep research. You can choose your sources, and I'm going to say, let's just go with the internet, right? We'll go with something clean and not use any of my personal information or history. So let's select a file, and we're going to focus this on GM squared, right? So this is version 5.2. It's the PowerPoint version. I would point it to URLs as well, because you can, very specific ones or things to search for. Unfortunately, my websites are not really search engine optimized, so Gemini has a hard time finding them, right? It's not in their static data set. And you can refer to the video on where LLMs get their information from to understand what we're talking about there. So I'm going to say so using the attached slides as a guide, do deep research into the idea of modern and future governance with AI. Okay, that's going to be our topic. And we'll run it. It's going to come back with a plan, right, before it starts to execute, which is one of the things LLMs have improved on in over the last 3 years of what feels like unlimited enhancements, the agile effect, another topic we've talked about. All right, so it has a plan. Now, since we're not doing this as a Rails research, I'm not going to spend too much time, but please do read over the plan. You can edit the plan and it'll bring up another prompt and do it again, but we will just take this one as start research, right? So it's going to do the research. And it'll take a few minutes. So I'm going to speed this up. And maybe while it's loading, I'll go over some of the information in GM squared. So let me pull it up, 5.2. You can see it's starting to write. You can go through a lot of this, but usually the end output of this one is the best one to read. If you read through this and you start finding it going a little bit off course from what you're specific, if you have very specific direction you want to give it, it's good to stop it. Sorry, it's good to stop it and say providing you some corrections before you go too deep, or just keep notes. And once it's done, say, hey, can you run this again with these corrections? Whichever one it may be, right there it says Gemini can make mistakes, so double check it. Make sure you always read over it and have that conversation. Even with the deep research on, you can have the conversation. What I would advise is when you're working with deep research, have bigger conversations, like cover all of your defects as points so that it tries to fix it in one go, which is not the same, right? It's not the same agile approach you would take if you were doing code assist or coding, where if you had a bunch of defects that you found in the web page that it created for you, you want to go one at a time. If you ask it to fix all the defects, it'll break more things than it doesn't. But with deep research, it's more of a time efficiency thing. You don't want to sit here for, you've been here for a minute, so this is going to take at least 5 minutes. You don't want to sit here for 5 minutes fixing one small thing at a time, knowing that it's going to have to fix this massive document with more things. Give it more information. All right, so we are back. And so now you can see you have the research, and it's quite a bit of research. Singapore, the smart nation. This is some interesting. Okay, so it's gone really deep. A lot of information, and I don't know if you've heard me say it before, I'm not much of a reader. So I could read through all of this, but there's ways you can output this as well. So first, we can go to export, right? So if you wanted to keep it the way it is, you could share this with somebody else too and say, hey, you want to take a look at it? You could export it to Docs, so Google Docs, and get a copy of it. You can just copy it and paste it into somewhere. which is something I will do. So I'll copy contents. It's now copied to clipboard. And you have some other interesting ways you can output it. So you can output it as a web page. You could output it as an infographic, a quiz, flashcards, or an audio review, right? So why don't we go with infographic? Let's see what we get. Right, so this one shouldn't take as long as the deep research. And you'll see here the tool, right? We're still in the deep research space, so I don't know if it's going to use Nano Banana, but that's another tool that's available here, right? Create images, that's Nano Banana right there, which is a powerful image generating tool. Okay, so I guess deep research does it as HTML, single page. It'll be still interesting to see what we get as an output, so it's taking a little bit longer than I thought it would. And while we're waiting there, right? So the idea here is you take that deep research and you create something out of it. Now, change management in general is you're starting at a current state and you're trying to get to a future state. If you put it into numbers, it's like out of 10, I'm starting at a 3 out of 10, and I'm just looking to get to a 4 out of 10, which is encouraged, right? You need to know what that 10 roughly is. And that's subjective too, right? Somebody else's 10 may be different from your 10, but this is an individual person doing this. And accordingly, wherever you are, if you're already at what you feel is a 6 or 7, you might not need to learn the content. You just read it and you're like, okay, I understand this content already. It's a good summary. But sometimes it's like, oof, this is a new topic I just asked it to do research into. Like, and there's many of mine I have here if you were to look through the whole chat. But some of them are deep. And this is when I would encourage you to take that copy and create a new chat, because I think it would. Let's see if I try to change it. Yep, it doesn't work here. So you would need to create a new chat and paste the entire deep research into that chat and say, create a guided learning plan. Like, help me learn it better. And the LLM will look through that deep content and explain it to you. And where something was summarized too much, it'll bring it back to you. And we'll do a bit of a demo on that to see how it would produce it. But first, let's go see what it's produced as the infographic. And here we have the governance in the age of AI. And we have shortest lead time, predictive outcomes, adaptive flow. Some pretty interesting areas. So it's put together a really interesting, which I don't need to save it. This is saved now forever for me. And we're not going to get into it, but in this video, but there are other videos where you could take the code and create a web page out of it so you could publicly share it with everyone versus, sharing Gemini and bringing them into Gemini world, because that is, again, not something, as much as I love the Google Cloud platform and all their offerings, there's many offerings out there, and I am not here saying anyone is better than any other. So you'll see here it's put infographics, really well explained. Oh, I love these because this is a maturity assessment. I want to come back. Traditional governance, AI-driven governance. Yep. And it's pretty interesting that this AI large language model did not even, cover the whole spectrum with AI, because AI, or the large language models, are they're not able to fully cover the maturity spectrum, which I could create a video about that if people are interested as well. So we'll keep going, closed loop. I won't go too much into it here because we're not really trying to learn this content. We're just trying to learn the mindset around it, but very powerful. It is, I will say it is a bit unfortunate that once you choose one of these items, I haven't found a way to be able to go back and say, oh, I selected infographic. I wanted to select web page. So this is another reason why, you know, well, and maybe based on this video, we'll find that particular feature available to go back and say, whoops, I didn't want an infographic. I wanted an image, or I wanted in something else. So lots of opportunities in terms of that. So now let's see if we can turn this into a guided learning. If I close it, yeah, it will say new chat. So let's start a new chat and go, can we paste it still? Yep, so we still have all that information that we copied, which is huge. And what you could also do is you could have, and let's do that. So I'm gonna go Notepad. I'll bring it up here on the main screen. So I'm not even using any fancy. And the formatting is completely off. There's no spaces between. It doesn't matter. These models don't have an issue with it, so don't waste too much time formatting it. And I'm gonna keep it for documents, not games, videos. Keep it here, and I'm gonna keep it up there. So we'll call this. What was it again? I forgot what the research was even. GM squared deep research. Come here and upload files. Go to the folder. Oh, I'm in that folder. And there it is. Open it. So rather than pasting it as text here, which will, honestly, it'll really slow down your chat, which is a whole other thing. But providing a document with that massive text is much better than putting it into the chat. So we'll say, I did deep research on adaptive governance using AI and attach. I please provide a clear learning plan that you will guide me through to fully understand the context. Okay, and then you set the tool to guided learning. Right. So really what I'm doing here, and this is what I'm encouraging, is take deep research and put it into guided learning. So it's almost, if you look at that ad car, you had awareness of a topic that you wanted more information on. You had the desire to do the deep research, and you did that, but you didn't put much effort into it, right? The large language model did it, but now you need the knowledge, right? And that desire should include that this knowledge needs to be understood so that I can practice and apply it and increase that understanding, increase the skills, the physical skill of how I do it and the metaphysical skill of how I think about it. This is the next stage that we're at now. That's what the knowledge is. And then, of course, you're going to have to apply it, right? You can't just, well, you shouldn't just accumulate knowledge without applying it. Then you're a large language model. So fully understand it, set it to guided learning, and it runs. It doesn't take as long as the deep research. So we should get a plan pretty soon. Okay. Okay. So this describes fundamental shift from traditional rule-based bureaucracies to systems driven by predictive modeling and automated decision-making. Not really, but sure. This transition promises efficiency, but raises profound questions about legitimacy, black box, justice, and the role of human discretion in public service. Here is a learning plan. Wow, okay. I guess we should have really read through that deep research before just putting it into deep learning, but I mean, in guided learning, but we'll just take it, right? Because we did that in this video. We just bypassed the review. Here's a learning plan. Okay, shift in power. We can start by defining the algorithmic state and defining, okay, we can select an option or, okay, so now we can choose the three of them, national strategies and real world models. And then you could just guide it now, right? Saying, let's start with the human cost. I only want half the topic. And then it'll guide you through learning in terms of how you get information there. It's the ADKAR model, right? So the awareness, the desire, the knowledge, the application, the practice, and then the reinforcement. And you repeat that and repeat that and repeat that until you get better, right? So that is the model we were talking about in terms of being aware. This awareness and LLM is not going to help you because unless you've created a website saying, hey, create me this web module that informs me every time something happens in the news related to AI. That could be how you use an LLM to create awareness, but the rest of awareness is just keeping your eyes and ears open to what's going on. The desire is using that deep research. Like, okay, now there's this thing that's happening. Let me do some deep research. Is it a scientific topic? Is it technological? Is it engineering? Is it arts? Is it math? Is it social? Which might fall under arts, but doesn't matter. Do the deep research, right? These large language models, they can speak all the languages and crawl the internet. Like there's technically no topic they can't talk to you about. How deep? Maybe, but not how wide. But go deep. Go as deep as you can. Get that knowledge, take the deep research, put it into guided learning if needed. Do your own guided learning if you have other tools or other ways of doing it, but gain that knowledge and be a little bit agile in it, right? And here what I mean is don't sit down for 3 years and gain the knowledge. Gain the knowledge, apply what you've learned. Gain the knowledge, apply what you've learned. Gain the knowledge, apply what you've learned. Like all of these things, they're not static steps in your growth, in your growth mindset. There's definitely a level of focus. Like don't try to read 3 books at the same time and jump between them. No, finish one. If that's what you're doing, then move on to the next book and the next book. But what we're saying is apply. Like as you're reading the book and you put it down and then you go and you live your life for 16 hours before you pick the book up again. Apply whatever you've read. Don't overdo it because maybe a lot of books they bury the lead in chapter 15, but whatever you've learned, change, continuous, right? Kaizen, small positive change for continuous growth and improvement of self, of you. Large enterprises are learning this and they're growing themselves, but that's not growing you. You have to grow you. So we'll leave it at that, and we'll follow up, right? There's many other videos. I'll show how we take this information and this research and how I've applied it and how we share it, because that's what it is, right? We need to continue that learning cycle, that continuous growth cycle, mastery of these items. Use techniques like shuhari, right? See what the process says, follow it exactly, start to get better and better at the process. And then finally, define your own process, right? Shuhari is defined as that, again, that Japanese kata of how to become masters. It is mastery in a different form, and it's used in martial arts. Follow that. Follow the mastery itself, right? The formalized learning. If you're more academic, follow the academic routes. If certifications are what drives you, follow the certification routes. There's many different ways of taking that path of always learning or being open to learn, right? Make sure your cup doesn't get over full because you're not going to be able to learn more. Have a vision of specializing and becoming an expert in something, recognizing that expertise is an unachievable vision because the moment you reach it, then you stop trying to achieve things, right? So you don't want to achieve expertise. You don't want to achieve that vision. You just want to keep driving towards it. So keep that in mind. Use these tools and use them well. And stay tuned for another video, which will hopefully get some more interest and get people more involved in their own agency, not AI, right? Not tools in general. Tools are tools, and they will always remain tools, and they're just meant there for you to use.